My wife cheated on me with my business partner and left me for him. But later, she faced a major disappointment. My ex-wife, Katie, 38, and I were together for 19 years, 16 of which we were married. We also have a 14-year-old daughter together. Around 6 months ago, she left me to be with my business partner, or rather, my former business partner, because he sold his share and left the business after I found out about their affair. Leon used to be my colleague. Over time, we became good friends and decided to quit our jobs and start our own company. We worked together for 5 years, and for 3 of those years, he was sleeping with my wife. I found out about the affair around 6 months ago through messages on Katie's phone. When I confronted her, she didn't even try to deny it. She just admitted everything and said she was tired of hiding it. She told me she had wanted to leave me for a long time. That I was devastated. I had no idea she was unhappy in our marriage. If I had known, I would have done everything to fix it. On the day I found out and she said she was leaving, I even offered to try to work things out. That was pretty stupid of me, but I was desperate. Instead, she got annoyed and told me the only reason she married me in the first place was because she got pregnant by accident and was afraid of being alone. She said she had tried to love me for all 16 years, but it never worked. Now she'd found the man she truly loved and wasn't going to let me keep her trapped. She said since the truth was out, I should just accept it and let her go. It hurt like hell, especially because of our daughter. But Katie didn't hesitate for a second. She filed for divorce, and the whole process went pretty smoothly. She didn't ask for alimony or any kind of financial support. The property division was fair at SOA. A couple of months later, we were officially divorced. I had finally come to terms with it and realized that after everything that had happened, I couldn't be with her anymore. I spoke to Leon, and he just apologized, saying he'd wanted to tell me but didn't know how. A few weeks later, he quit and said they were moving away because they didn't want to cause me any more trouble. Also, Katie had been offered a great job in Boston, and Leon's cousin lived there too, so he could work with him. He wrote all this in a letter, and we haven't spoken since. The last time I saw Katie was 2 months ago, the day our divorce was finalized. I haven't heard from either of them since. It's been hard for my daughter and me, but we've managed. At least I still had the business to focus on. No matter what, I wanted to give my daughter the future she deserved. About a week ago, Katie showed up again, and to this day, I'm still not sure if my daughter and I made the right decision that night. It happened around 11 p.m. Someone started ringing the doorbell like crazy and banging on the door. My daughter was already asleep, and I was finishing up work in my office. We both rushed to the door, and when I looked out the window, I saw it was Katie. My daughter begged me not to open it. She's still very hurt by her mother. Even though Katie has partial custody, she's never once tried to reach out to her. And after what Katie did to me, our daughter's attitude toward her has only gotten worse. Their relationship is really strained, but I figured if Katie showed up at this hour, something serious must have happened. So I opened the door to let her in, but instead of coming inside, she started yelling at me from the doorway, screaming that she was going to sue me and take everything she was entitled to. She shouted that she couldn't believe I would punish her so cruelly. For the first few seconds, I had no idea what she was talking about. I asked her to calm down and explain, because I was completely confused, but she kept raging, saying I shouldn't pretend not to know, because she was convinced I had deliberately kept quiet about Leon's true nature to punish her for cheating. Then she rolled up her sleeve and showed me a spot on her arm with a bandage. Right away, I realized Leon had done something, and that was a shock. We had worked together for years, and he had never once even raised his voice at anyone. Katie told me that over the past few weeks, ever since they moved to Boston, they'd been fighting constantly. Everything started falling apart from the moment they arrived. At first, she thought Leon was just adjusting to the new life. But even after a month, he kept acting like everything was her fault. He kept blaming her for ruining his life, for making him leave the business he had worked so hard on. Now he had to work for his cousin, who constantly humiliated him. He blamed Katie for all of it, because she had told me about the affair before he was ready to confess, and because of her job, they had to move urgently. So he couldn't stay and fight for the business. They argued every night. During one of those fights, he completely lost it and threw a vase at her. She tried to dodge, but it still hit her arm and cut her. Before that, it had only been verbal abuse, but this time, it went too far. She left the house right then and caught the first flight to come talk to me. She said Leon hadn't even tried to call or apologize since she left. She told me she blamed me for everything, because in her mind, I knew about his aggression and deliberately kept it from her to get revenge. She said it was unbelievably cruel of me, because, according to her, she did me a favor by not asking for anything during the divorce. And I couldn't even bother to protect her. It was ridiculous. Like I said, I worked with Leon for years and only knew him professionally. At work, he was completely different. I didn't live with him, and I'd only met the women he dated once or twice. I had no way of knowing this side of him. So her accusations that I knew and kept it secret were insane. And I was furious that she acted like I owed her anything. I tried to explain that I had no idea what he was like outside of work, and I told her I was genuinely sorry this happened, but in the end, it was her own doing. She could threaten me with court all she wanted, but deep down she had to know I wasn't to blame. Still, Katie wouldn't stop. She kept insisting I knew everything and said she was going to fight for everything she didn't ask for during the divorce. The whole time, my daughter was standing by the door. I'd completely forgotten she was there because I was so caught up in the argument. But when we started going in circles, she interrupted Katie and told her to leave. I was surprised. I didn't expect my daughter to step in. I think Katie was caught off guard too. But then Katie snapped at her to shut up and stay out of it, said she was too young to understand and ordered her to go to bed, but my daughter refused. She stood her ground and said Katie had no right to talk to me like that, especially after everything she'd done to me. She reminded her that I had been broken for months after finding out about the affair, and that Katie had been selfish and heartless, just moving on with her new life. Then she told her mother that she didn't even bother to visit her, not once, or try to keep in touch, because she was too busy with Leon and her new life. My daughter told Katie she failed as both a wife and a mother and had no right to stand there pretending to be the victim in a situation she created herself. She's only 14, but hearing her say all that, I truly realized how much she had grown because of the divorce. Katie had no response. And then my daughter said one last thing. Since Katie left us for Leon, she should now deal with the consequences alone, because we were no longer her family. She dug this hole, now she could lie in it. That's what she deserved for destroying the lives of the people closest to her. Then she slammed the door in Katie's face and went to her room. I heard Katie crying outside, but I didn't even go check on her. After everything, there was no need. I went to bed and tried not to think about it. A few days later, Katie showed up again, this time with a lawyer, to demand full custody of our daughter. Luckily, our daughter was at her friend's place that evening, so I didn't have to explain anything right away. But I was furious when Katie said that after the way our daughter spoke to her last time, she had decided not to let her live with me anymore. She claimed the real reason she hadn't tried to stay in touch with our daughter after I found out about the affair was that she didn't want to get caught up in a drawn-out custody battle and make my life harder. According to her, she just wanted to leave quietly and avoid escalating things. She said she knew I was on edge back then, and her presence in our daughter's life would have only made things worse. Basically, she was trying to say she did it. All for me, not because she didn't want to deal with responsibility. Of course, I didn't believe her. I told her straight up, I know perfectly well that the only reason you didn't fight for anything during the divorce, especially custody, was because you wanted to leave as quickly as possible and start a new life with Leon. It had nothing to do with me, no matter how you try to spin it. So I have nothing to feel guilty about. But Katie said she didn't care anymore. Now she wanted full custody of our daughter and swore she would get it. She said she wouldn't let me ruin our daughter's perception of her by filling her head with nonsense and teaching her to disrespect her own mother. She claimed that during our last encounter, our daughter acted incredibly disrespectfully. And instead of stopping it, I encouraged it. So now she knew exactly what to do, and she had come to inform me she would be taking me to court. I said, "Be my guest," and slammed the door in her face because I didn't want to waste another second talking to her. But now, I'm starting to wonder if maybe she has a point. I want to believe I'm doing the right thing, but honestly, I'm not sure about anything anymore. Before we get to the update, feel free to drop your opinion in the comments. Do you think I did the right thing? Personally, I believe I did. I can't really think of a reason why I'd be in the wrong here. If I haven't left out any important details, then I think I'm completely justified. Now, let's move on to the updates. Update 1: I've decided I have absolutely nothing to apologize for. My daughter did the right thing by standing up for me. And reading the comments really helped me realize how foolish I was being. Katie cheated on me. I don't owe her sympathy or guilt over what's happened to her. A lot of people also suggested I talk to my daughter in case Katie actually follows through and files for custody. so it wouldn't catch her off guard, especially after what happened last time. So yesterday, I sat down and told her everything that I didn't want to keep any secrets. She's already proven she's mature enough to handle this. Yes, it breaks my heart that she's had to grow up so fast, but at least now I can prepare her for what might come. We haven't heard anything from Katie yet, but we expect it'll happen soon. Our daughter is 14, which means her opinion will be taken into account if it goes to court. I'd rather resolve this through mediation, but just in case, I wanted to make sure she truly wants to stay with me, and she does. She made it very clear that she doesn't want anything to do with Katie, at least not right now. She said maybe someday she'd consider rebuilding their relationship, but for now, the pain is still too fresh. She clearly blames her mother for tearing our family apart, and I can't deny that I don't want to be the kind of dad who turns his kid against her mom out of spite. But in this case, I didn't have to do anything. Katie managed that all on her own. They used to be really close, so this has been a painful, sudden break for my daughter. I know Katie is angry that she sided with me. She always tried to be closer to her. By the way, a lot of people asked who told our daughter about the affair. It wasn't me, it was Katie. She wrote her a letter a few days after moving out, without even asking if I was okay with it, and my daughter was heartbroken when she found out the truth. Even then, she still wanted to talk to her mom, just once. But Katie refused. When I tried to reach out to arrange a call so they could talk, Katie said she didn't want to discuss anything with our daughter because she was too busy with the divorce. She said everything she had to say was already in the letter and there was nothing more to add. I tried to convince her, just one conversation, because I could tell our daughter had so many questions. But Katie wouldn't budge. After that, she completely cut us off. So our daughter's view of her mother changed dramatically. And honestly, I don't think it's fair for Katie to blame me for that. Anyway, I've spoken to my lawyer. We are ready. Update 2. So, a few days ago, I finally received the official custody summons from Katie. My lawyer and I immediately filed a response. Tomorrow, we have a meeting scheduled with a court-appointed mediator, but earlier today, Leon called me. I was honestly surprised to see his name on my phone. We had absolutely no reason to speak, but I picked up anyway. As soon as I answered, he told me he wanted me to get Katie back for him. He said he'd been trying to contact her for days and was sure she must be staying with me, or at least had spoken to me. He asked me to tell her he was looking for her. I told him I had no idea where she was living now. But yes, we had spoken recently and she was here because she was planning to fight for custody of our daughter. I didn't do it for Leon. I was thinking that maybe, just maybe, if he talked to her, he could change her mind. Ideally, I hope he might even convince her to drop the custody battle altogether. With that thought in mind, I told him everything, and added that she'd been really upset that he hadn't even tried to contact her after that night. I told him that if he really wanted her back, he'd better hurry. The poor guy didn't even suspect that he was being manipulated. And honestly, it worked pretty well. I just hoped Katie still wanted to be with him, and that once he showed up, she'd go back to him. I told my lawyer about my little scheme, and even he agreed it was smart. As much as things are already in our favor, saving time and avoiding the stress of court is always worth it, especially if it helps settle the case early. Update 3. 2 days ago, Katie and I had our first mediation session and, of course, it went completely off the rails. She refused to agree to a single one of our proposals, said the whole thing was a waste of time, and walked out in under 30 minutes. Right after that, I picked up my daughter from school, and when we got home, Leon was waiting on our front porch. He looked awful. I could easily imagine how a few months with Katie might have driven him to that state. I told him to leave. My daughter and I had just gotten home, and we were tired. We didn't have the energy or desire to deal with more drama. And honestly, I had already done enough for him. I wasn't going to bend over backwards for the man who had been screwing my wife behind my back. But he broke down in tears and said Katie hadn't responded to any of his messages since their last argument. He had no idea where she was. I told him the same. I still didn't know where she was living, and I couldn't help him. He just sat down on the porch steps and buried his face in his hands, sobbing. At that point, I started getting genuinely irritated by all this drama. This guy helped Katie ruin my life, and now he was comfortable enough to come crying to me for help getting her back. I told my daughter to go inside so I could handle it. Once she was gone, I told Leon that it was time for him to leave, because I was done with both of them. Just in case, I gave him Katie's parents' contact information and told him if he couldn't reach her, he could try them. But he needed to leave us alone. I told him he and Katie had destroyed my life, and I never wanted to see him hanging. Around my house again. He tried to apologize and said he never meant to hurt me, that he just fell in love with her and couldn't help it. But I didn't want to hear it. I didn't say another word. He left and I just felt lost. I have no idea what's happening in my life anymore. I genuinely hope and pray that Leon and Katie manage to work things out, because if they do, maybe they'll finally leave me and my daughter alone, and I can start living again. Right now, I don't even know what I feel anymore. Mostly nothing, and I'm just counting the days until all of this finally ends. Update: for a few days ago, Katie officially ended our mediation sessions and declared that she wanted the case to go to court. It's going to end badly for her. We all know it, and I think she's only just starting to realize it herself. Anyway, just a few hours ago, she showed up at my place again. This time, she brought Leon with her. Looks like they managed to patch things up. I didn't let them into the house. My daughter was home, and she wasn't feeling well. I didn't want to make things worse, so I told them to wait at a nearby cafe while I called my mother to come stay with my daughter. Then I went to meet them. When I got there, both Katie and Leon apologized for everything they'd put me through. Once again, I had to explain that none of that mattered to me anymore. I just wanted them to get to the point and tell me why they were here. That I wasn't going to waste time on fake apologies and emotional theatrics, so they got to the point. They admitted they had screwed up. They said they didn't like living in Boston at all. Katie missed our daughter terribly, and Leon hated working for someone else. He missed the feeling of being his own boss. Katie now wanted me to agree to let our daughter come visit her every weekend, or at least every other weekend, because she didn't want to lose the life she had before. And Leon? He hit me with the most ridiculous thing of all. He wanted to become my business partner again and open a branch in Boston. The best part? They wanted me to make a decision within a couple of days. Katie told me her employer said if she wanted to keep her job, she needed to go back to working remotely, and that had to start soon. So even if I wanted to say I'd think about it, I didn't have time. I told them flat out I wasn't agreeing to any of it. Leon had already quit and sold his share of the company. I wasn't taking him back. I didn't trust him at all, and Katie's proposal was absurd. Our daughter shouldn't have to fly back and forth every weekend just so her mother can play family again. She should have thought about that before she moved to Boston. That's not on me. They started pushing back, saying they were willing to compromise because they didn't want the case to go to court. I told them just the idea that they thought they could win anything in court was laughable, and the only reason they'd come to me in person was to pressure me into agreeing to something out of guilt. Too bad for them. I wasn't that weak or stupid. The only reason I agreed to meet at all was because I wanted to put a final end to all of this. My words shut them down pretty quickly. Even they knew they had no chance in court. I told them the most I could do was talk to my daughter and try to convince her to see her mom when she was in town. But that was it. I wouldn't do anything beyond that. So either they accept my offer, or they can go to hell. I'm not wasting any more of my time on them. Katie looked pretty desperate, so she agreed right away. I left. I'll talk to my daughter when she's feeling better, but I'm not going to force her to do anything. She doesn't want to. If she decides she doesn't want to see her mother again, that's her decision. I won't pressure her. Update 5 high again. A couple of months have passed. In my last update, I said I wouldn't force my daughter to see her mother if she didn't want to. After that, I had a conversation with her and told her exactly what Katie said. She replied that she needed some time to think things over. I passed that on to Katie a couple of months ago, and since then, we haven't spoken. I don't know if she and Leon managed to work out their issues. Honestly, I couldn't care less. As far as I know, they're still living together in Boston. Let them. The most important thing is, they've left me alone. And now, I can finally start trying to rebuild my life, and that's exactly what I'm doing. The best revenge is living well. So I'm focusing on work and raising my daughter to be a kind, strong, and decent human being. Unlike her mother, I truly hope I succeed. Watch our previous video. Be sure to subscribe to our channel if for some reason you haven't done so yet. And good luck to you.